Hello, we're back. We're talking about now, but the real issue in the topic we've been discussing, considering you've seen the first part of this program, is what change should we try and effect? Which direction should we try and take? The problem is, yes, there is an issue with the political platform. There is also an issue with the economic platform. Our economic managers say so much, said so much, pushed it, they had the train law 1, only to find out it's cost us 5.7, 5.9 inflation, and still climbing. All of a sudden, they keep quiet. All of a sudden, they say, let's not go towards federalism. And yet, the very leader who appointed them and put them there are the very ones, is the very person who first campaigned federalism being his very first promise to the people, and only anti-drugs to be the second, and corruption the third. Now, what should we do? Attorney Seb, okay, you have manifested, and you are correct, I agree with you. Yung local government code, andyan dyan na yung sistema. Ang problema, there's incompetence because of dynasties, there is corruption. So lalaki mo yung funds, mas malaki lang nanakawin nila. Okay. What change should we talk about? Anyway, yung proposal ng Constitutional Commission is but a proposal. We have Congress who you don't seem to have enough of, you don't think that they will do the right thing because they belong to the dynasties. Valid point, very valid. But what should we do? Should we go through another election and have more senators who represent no one and nothing in the country? Congressmen and party lists that, well, I don't know exactly what they do and who they represent. And the dynasties and the oligarchs to continue what they're doing. We gotta effect change because we have a strong and popular president. If we're gonna do something, this guy can do it. You know, so it seems. But what do we do? What do you propose? So, wag federalism.
Under the present circumstances.
So, even the proposal of the Constitutional Com, because you respect the Constitutional Commission, obviously, all the members of the CONCOM, you seem to respect. I respect all of them.
I respect, yes,
not all of them.
I do not know all of them.
Okay.
But Father Rani Aquino is my senior at
San Veda.
UST Faculty of Arts and Letters.
He makes a lot of sense.
We had the same major, philosophy.
But Nene Pimentel, the father of local government code, is there.
Yes.
Maayos
and I respect...
I respect the old man too. Now, anong maganda? Is there a difference? Let me propose this. We are sick of the unitary system that gives too much power to the chief executive. Even the very president is saying, mali yan, hindi tama. Now, anong maganda? Mabuti ata kesa mag-federalism, palakasin natin local government code by amendments and introduce the parliamentary na lang instead. Ano kaya, di ba? Get rid of the Senate and come up with a parliamentary system that will eventually move it into the federal system. Of course, the people will have to vote every representative. And the people being, what, stupid, nabibili, that they will vote again the same dynasties. What do we do? But if we force the issue, having a strong president, to mandate, because of the strength of his mandate, to say and dictate, hindi pwedeng dynasty, hindi pwede turncoatism. Now, mag-parliamentary na lang kaya muna tayo. Is that even better? At least, tanggalin natin ang Senado, wala naman silang they don't represent anybody anyway. Diba? And let's just have a House of Commons, so to speak. Parliamentary.
My position is that the issue is not between a unitary system of government or a federal system of government. The issue is elite rule. The issue is the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few. This, I believe, is the issue. And
but
I
isn't
do
that
not
problem
expect,
all around the world? Ganon din naman yan sa America, ganon din sila eh.
I do not expect that change will come from above. There must be a change in the political culture of our people.
Naku.
What prevails in our country is the politics based on personalities. Our people elect not based on principles or programs of government, but they vote on the personal qualities of candidates. That explains the fact why we have a Manny Pacquiao in Congress.
But
or
you gotta
perhaps a
admit,
Tito Soto in Congress.
but you gotta admit, these two characters have performed quite well. I mean, not for anything, compared to many trapos, as they are called, traditional politicians of past, who literally do nothing. I mean, look at the Aquino name. Noynoy Aquino, being in the Senate, did nothing but drink and produced nothing. Same with Estrada. There are some and there are some good. Now,
what I'm saying that...
well, what change can we propose or should we propose?
If ever change will have to take place, that change will have to come from the people. Unfortunately...
Pero hindi kaya ng taong bayan, hindi nila alam eh. Yan ang problema
that is why we have to take this opportunity in this issue of federalism to raise the political consciousness of the people.
That is good. That is good. The
And,
political consciousness. But it will take decades and a generation to change the culture of how people are voted. Now,
And
education has already failed us. DepEd and CHED has failed this country. I mean, I think no one can contest that because of the way we vote. Now, what can we do to improve that? We have the strength of a very popular and a mandate that is so popular that is the president today.
Yes.
I mean, no one can. I mean, Sakur, what's his name, in BBC, pointed that out to that very poor senator, kawawa naman. Kung ano sinasabi ni Trillanes, pero my gosh, Duterte having 86%, my gosh, no world leader comes near half. Not half, not one leader in the world. Now, with the popularity and the strength of this president, maybe, can he institute change? Maybe, ibahin natin,
Okay.
parliamentary na lang muna, moving towards federalism.
Okay.
Hindi kaya?
People voted for Duterte because they yearned for meaningful,
Change.
significant change.
Yeah, so
But
this guy can now maybe effect
you
change.
may not agree with me, but
No, I agree with you
But,
there. The
yeah,
vote for
on
Duterte.
that, yes.
No, the vote for Duterte was the very vote against the Trapos and the Liberal Party.
the vote for Duterte is, I believe, is a vote against the status quo.
Yes, now
the
that-
present system of the equally corrupt, rotten, elitist politics.
Correct. I agree with you. But now that we have a strong president, hindi kaya dapat the president himself force, mandate, or rule and make that change. Sabihin niya, bawal ang dynasty, bawal turncoatism. Those two issues, which is very important. And then, tanggalin na lang natin ang Senado.
But,
of course, the executive moving into legislative. But who cares? Attorney Seb, can the Senate hold us hostage, the people? Who is stronger? Sila o tayo?
Of
Di ba
course,
tayo
the
mas
people.
malakas? Baliwala yung 24 ng
We
senador.
can, sadly, my position is that we cannot rely on President Duterte because I believe based on his actions and behavior, he just represents one faction of the elite holding political power.
So he's a problem.
I don't think he was able to fulfill his promise of change. And he just represents a faction of the elite which now holds political power.
But how can he
for
be elite
instance,
when he doesn't have the kind of money with him? He's been in power for so long. He doesn't have the billions everybody in the Senate has.
by that, I mean that he represents elite interests. This is evidenced by the fact we had Lopez, who opposed mining interests. We had Mariano at the DNR, who could be relied upon to implement genuine agrarian reform.
Pero sino nagtanggal
But,
sa kanila? Kundi mga senador din. The very system.
He was removed by the Commission on Appointments.
Yeah, the Blue Ribbon Committee.
But
which are the senators.
Yes, but this what kind of Congress do we have now? We have a Congress that is, sad to say, is utterly subservient to the dictates of the president. If the president honestly would have fought for Lopez or Mariano, this Congress could not have rejected them.
But isn't it the president?
It is not.
But isn't the president also following the rules of law wherein the blue ribbon really has the power over the executive to negate the positions of both Lopez and Mariano?
But,
Incidentally, Mariano has a case against him for murder, just so you know,
okay,
together with the
yes,
other three, because these are communists. Now, Lopez, obviously, well, she's a bit hyper whatever. She would have been good for the mining, but then again, the very people that the president has are the ones who negated her, which is Dominguez, who represents the mining sector, who is one of the economic managers, who is one of the elite. I mean, let's look at the true elite of this country. Is it not the Catholic Church, which is the #1 elite of this country? Diba? Literally. They're probably the richest faction. They don't call themselves a political party, but nevertheless, one of the main or major elite. I mean, they have the biggest bank holdings. They own most of the corporations. I mean, rather than serve the poor, they build gargantuan churches and more and bigger and ostentatiousness with bling-blings on their you know, on their bodies going around town. But how can we improve the system if there are co-equal branches of power, which is what we call the democracy, where the president can only do so much, and which he's doing because he's a lawyer. So he always says that on the podium. I can only do so much, hindi ko naman pwede hawakan yan. Maybe that's his fault. Can we say that's his fault? At least yung Congress sumusunod sa kanya. But can the Senate, can you rightfully accept the Senate ruling against the people? Supposedly, the people like federalism. Sasabihin ng Senado, hindi, ayaw nila. Who are they to tell the people what we want? Di ba? Tama?
First of all, when this CONCOM was drafted a proposed federal constitution, the people were not even consulted.
Yeah, that's why
So
thanks
we
to,
cannot
that's why I said-
even say that this proposed shift to a federal system of government represents what the people want.
Agree.
We will have a Congress which will constitute itself as a constituent assembly.
Well,
And I do not expect this Congress to really represent the genuine will of the people and
So,
represent
dapat gawin
the
natin.
genuine interests of the people.
So-
honestly, I am at the moment
Perplexed.
almost hopeless.
but we can't be hopeless, Attorney Seb. We owe it to our children to correct our mistakes.
Yes.
We have already bungled. It is our responsibility, regardless of the stupidity of our actions in the last 40 years, because
Yes.
we have not corrected it with our peers. It is time to stand up and say we will correct it, at least for them. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
Kung wala kang anak, okay ka lang eh. Eh kung may anak ka, wait, hold on.
Okay.
Ayusin na natin ginawa nating masama. But this is the one guy who could probably do it because he's the only one with this kind of a mandate.
Let us consider the history of proposed amendments to the Constitution.
Okay.
Almost all presidents have attempted to revise the Constitution. And I believe
Well, Cory did it in 87, haphazardly, madalian, in 11 months. Because she forgot that the revolutionary government only had 2 years to do it. And she chose her own members, the 55-man board, nagmamadali. And all of them now saying like David, it's the best constitution. How can it be the best when you left everything to Congress to complete? Wala silang ginawang tama eh.
I also agree with you with that.
Di ba? Wala silang ginawang tama. Ang lalaki magsalita, but they didn't have the guts, the balls, so to speak, to say, bawal ang dynasty, bawal ang turncoatism.
As I have told
Puro
you,
leave it to Congress.
as I have told you earlier, the 1987 Constitution was able to dismantle the structures of authoritarian rule. Unfortunately, this Constitution wasn't able to prevent the restoration of what I call the equally corrupt elitist politics
Yes.
of pre-martial law days.
Agreed. Agreed.
The 1987 Constitution
Agreed.
could have said that there should be no political dynasties without leaving this to Congress.
Agreed.
The fact that it left
Yes.
the enactment of the law to Congress
Is their incompetence, due to their incompetence.
is a failure on the part of this Constitution.
Yes. But now that we are faced with this, you agreed in the beginning of the show that we have to go for change.
Yes.
Pro-change tayong dalawa.
Yes.
Pro-change.
Yes.
What change can we promote? Definitely, we have to step out of the current system. Agreed? Because it's not work. You and I agreed earlier.
But if by the current system that we have to step out, I refer to the elitist politics that was able to be restored after the EDSA revolution.
We can.
I am not. That is the rotten system that has to be dismantled.
No. Since the
And I do not see this shift to federalism as the answer to dismantling that rotten system.
Maybe the end game could be federalism in 5 or 10 years, but let's start maybe with the parliament. Now, our initial problem are the oligarchs, the monsters that we have already in legislation. So, maybe with the mandate and the popularity of the president, step over executive legislation, go over to one side and say, wala na Senado, number one. Number two, wala na dynasty. Wala na rin turncoatism. Yung mga ganon. And then from there, aliga, mag-parliamentary tayo.
I still have to see that. But my honest opinion is that Duterte is no different from the other presidents who have attempted to perpetuate themselves in power by revising the Constitution. The proposed federal government would allow the president, would allow a person to become president until 2030. It does not prevent Duterte from running again and becoming president.
I
The
disagree with that, but that's
1987
okay.
Constitution, as I have said,
6 years lang,
were
bawal na.
able to dismantle the structures of authoritarian rule by restoring the system of separation of powers and checks and balances. But we have to
But we're
consider, we have to look at our history. Marcos was able to usher in authoritarian rule through a new constitution.
Executive legislation.
Which gave a cloak of legitimacy to his dictatorship.
Like all dictators.
If we consider the transitory provisions in this proposed federal constitution, it grants to President Duterte as the transitory president legislative powers. And this in effect
That's
would
dangerous.
that's dangerous, I believe.
But what
and
do we
do
do?
not
Well, what do we do with the current state of legislation? With the legislators being the dynasts and the oligarchs? How do we get rid of the monsters? We are in the woods with a lot of teeth. We have to first break the teeth so we can enter the woods again. How do you propose? We have, remember, our goal is change.
yes.
Then how could we change it? How can we change it? Time is running out.
We
we have to change it.
We may you have a lot of trust to our president.
I need to, simply because
affecting that change. But
I need to, simply because the surveys tell me what is true, no matter how much they try to manipulate it, all his detractors. Talagang siya ang gusto ng taong bayan. With that power, I'd like to give it to him. With that power alone.
Yes.
Because that's the rule of the majority. This is democracy. The rule of the minority, which is the senators alone, and the detractors, who are all minority. That is the dictator. That's the bad guy. This is what you call the proper kind of rule, and then to control it, fix it, because it's the only way. The other word for it is revolutionary government. Some people say even the president does not understand the concept of revolutionary. Yes, he does. But the problem is him being a man of the law also respects it. Anyway, we've had, talking with you, Attorney Seb, mahina isang oras.
Oo.
Kasi ang daming issues and
Talagang
facts,
ang ah,
What would you like to say as an end spiel? What message would you like to give our viewers? This camera. Remember, we have to promote change.
yes.
We agreed on that.
Yes, yes.
We can agree to disagree, but we agreed change.
Yes, yes. We cannot expect change from the current set of leaders that we have, and that includes Duterte. My position is that he just represents a faction. He may not be elite himself, but his behavior, his actuations prove that he just represents a faction of the elite, advancing elite interest. It may be very difficult, but I believe change can only come from the people themselves. It may take time, it may take years, but the only way change can affect is that we raise the political consciousness of the people to see who are the real enemies and what change we need for the people to realize what really ails this country. And what ails this country is elite rule. We do not really have a democracy. What we have now is an oligarchy. And that is the problem that we have to face. And sadly, the change has to come from the people. Persons who are enlightened, there should be a people's movement to educate the people so that the people themselves will vote out of office these oligarchs, these members of the political dynasties. The people should realize the stupidity of exchanging their future for a few pesos. We should usher in the new politics, which is based on principles and platforms of government, and not the current politics prevailing today, which is the politics based on personalities.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I respect Attorney Seb Brillantes. I agree to disagree on some points. Disclaimer, I'm pro the president. That's nothing wrong. This is politics. It's free speech. And it's good that we discuss all these issues because only through conversation and deep learning, I guess, so to speak, do we begin to understand and help each other towards. After all, this is a democracy. It's a free country. The problem is, I believe change. I agree. We both agreed on that. My issue is time. We have already failed the people of this country. People of my age and those leaders that sit about, this is our fault. This includes the teachers and the parents, because this is what's happened. What we have today, if we have something to complain about, we can only look in the mirror and already we know who the culprit is and who where the real problem is. But can we effect change? We should. Do we know how to effect change? We should. Should we begin to effect change? Again, we should. Problem is, who will lead us in that direction? I realize executive legislation is incorrect. I agree with Attorney Seb. That will come back to the era of dictatorship and absolute power, and we'll go back to the issues of the dictator Marcos. But then again, I have other issues. I think those years were actually better economic years than ones that came after, especially the Aquino ruinous years. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our program. Yes, it's good to disclaim immediately the biases at the beginning or the end of the show, because that way you can tune out or you can tune in and continue to discuss it. Nevertheless, tama ito, pinag-uusapan natin kung anong kailangan para sa bayan. hindi kung ano nangyayari sa mga artista. So, be a body politic, stay a body politic, and be Filipino. Salamat po. Thank you very much, Attorney.